Help me. They're coming for me. They said I'm a curse. Please help me. Long ago, in the quiet village of Omaya, there lived a girl named Ndidi. She was only 16, but her spirit was older than her years. Her skin glowed like roasted cocoa, and her long lashes shaded eyes that always looked distant like they were searching for something that couldn't be found. And Didi was different. She did not gossip like the other girls. She did not wear loud beads or paint her lips red. She spent most of her time near the great Oma River, humming old songs and whispering into the water. Some said she was strange, others said she was cursed, but no one could deny she was beautiful. One day, as the sun began to set and the sky turned orange, a group of boys passed by the river and saw Ndidi kneeling by the edge, her hands cupped in the water. They stopped and stared. Mazi Ekene's son, Chibuzo, whispered, "That girl talks to the river. I swear, I saw her shadow moving even when she was still." It wasn't long before rumors started to spread. Ndidi was a witch. She had no father. Her mother was a quiet widow who rarely spoke. And in a village ruled by fear and tradition, silence was dangerous. That night, as the cricket sang and the moon lit the dusty paths, Ndidi sat outside her hut, staring into the stars. Her mother, Mama Ifunanya, came out and sat beside her. "Don't go to the river tomorrow," her mother said softly. "Why?" Ndidi asked, her voice calm. Mama Ifunanya didn't answer. She only looked away and wiped a tear from her eye. Ndidi didn't know it yet, but that tear would be the last love she'd receive from her mother. The river would call again, and next time, it would not let her go. The next morning, the village of Umunaya woke to the sound of drums, not for celebration, but for judgment. Chief Ozoimena, the village elder, had summoned everyone to the square. Whispers filled the air like smoke. Something had happened during the night. Ndidi stepped outside her small mud hut, her wrapper tight around her chest, her hair still damp from her morning wash at the river. She noticed the strange stares, the fear in the eyes of her neighbors. Even the children, who once played beside her, now avoided her path. At the square, the air was thick. Mazi Ekene stood at the center, breathing heavily. "My son Chibuzo fell ill last night," he shouted. He kept screaming Didi's name. He said she tried to drag him into the river in his dream. "Is this not witchcraft?" Gasps filled the air. "She walks with no friends. She talks to the river," another man added. "That girl is not ordinary." Ndidi's heart pounded. She looked to her mother, but Mama Ifunanya stood frozen, her hands shaking. "I am not a witch," Ndidi said softly. "I only go to the river because it listens." They did not want truth. They wanted someone to blame. Chief Ozo Emena raised his staff. "Tonight, we shall cleanse the river, and if Ndidi is truly innocent, the waters will spare her." Tears welled in her eyes. The river, her only friend, would now decide her fate. That night, the entire village of Umunaya gathered by the riverbank. Fires burned high, drums echoed through the forest. Elders in white wrappers chanted, holding calabashes filled with salt, herbs, and palm oil. Ndidi stood at the edge of the water, barefoot, her wrapper soaked from sweat and fear. Her wrists were tied with palm ropes. She stared at the same river that had once brought her peace. Now, it would either take her or prove her innocence. Chief Ozoimena's voice boomed. "Oma River, if she is a witch, swallow her. But if she is innocent, let her live." Before she could speak, before she could plead, she was pushed hard into the water. Gasps filled the air. The water rippled, then calmed. Seconds passed, then minutes. Silence. "She's gone," someone whispered. The elders turned away. People began to leave, muttering about cleansing and tradition. But beneath the surface, far below, Ndidi's eyes opened. She wasn't dead. The water had not killed her. It had claimed her. Didi sank deeper into the river, but she felt no pain, no drowning, just silence and light. Then she saw her. A glowing woman, half human, half fish, with long braided hair that moved like seaweed and skin, the color of midnight. Her eyes glowed red, but not with anger, with sorrow. Welcome, child of betrayal, the woman said. I am Ijeoma, queen of the deep. Ndidi tried to speak, but her mouth could not form words. Still, Ijeoma understood her thoughts. You were wronged, Ijeoma whispered. Just like I was, long ago. They called me a witch too. They drowned me, and now I protect the forgotten. Around them, other spirits of drowned women swam slowly silent, weeping, shimmering like smoke in water. Do you wish to return? Ijeoma asked. Or do you wish for justice? Ndidi's eyes, once soft, hardened with fire. She remembered the faces, the fear, the lies, and the silence of her own mother. I want them to feel what I felt, she thought. Ijeoma nodded and reached out. Ndidi took her hand. That was the moment she stopped being a girl and became something else. The following morning, the people of Umunaya returned to the riverbank to pray and offer thanks. The river was calm, still, almost beautiful, until the water turned red. A thick stream of blood bubbled from the surface, sending panic through the crowd. Mothers screamed, children cried. Chief Ozoemena fell to his knees. Then, they saw it. Floating near the edge, eyes open, was Chibuzo's body, the boy who started it all. His face was frozen in fear, and a mark, shaped like a teardrop, was carved on his forehead. One elder whispered, the river has spoken. But Mama Ifunanya knew the truth. In her dream the night before, she saw Ndidi standing tall at the bottom of the river, her eyes glowing, her face emotionless, and behind her, a woman with red tears dripping into the water. The mermaid who cried blood had returned, and she was not done yet. That night, rain poured down on Umunaya, though the skies had been clear just moments before. It wasn't an ordinary rain. It was cold, ice cold, and it whispered. As drops hit the zinc roofs and clay huts, villagers began hearing voices in the rain. Ndidi's voice. You left me, you watched, you said nothing. Mama Ifunanya tossed in her sleep, her wrapper soaked with sweat. She ran outside, barefoot, her heart pounding. The rain stung her skin, but she didn't care. She ran to the river and fell to her knees. I'm sorry, she screamed into the wind. I should have stopped them. I should have fought for you. The wind howled louder. A shape rose from the water, Ndidi. Her eyes glowed dimly, and her feet didn't touch the ground. Mama Ifunanya gasped, reaching out, but Ndidi didn't move closer. I waited, Ndidi whispered. But you let them take me. Then, she vanished into mist, leaving behind the sound of crying, and a pool of blood where her feet once stood. By morning, the first elder was dead. Elder Nwachuku, the one who tied Ndidi's hands, was found lying beside his shrine, his mouth filled with sand, eyes wide in terror. That same day, Elder Onuma, who gave the order to push Ndidi, began coughing uncontrollably. He coughed until blood ran from his nose. He died before nightfall. Whispers turned into panic. The river spirit is angry, the villagers cried. But Chief Ozomena remained proud. This is not the doing of a spirit. It's coincidence. We cleansed the river. There is no witch. But deep inside, even he felt the cold creeping in. Mama Ifunanya lit a candle for her daughter that night. She prayed, sang, and begged. Ndidi, my child, please forgive me. A soft wind blew out her candle. In the shadows behind her, the ghost of her daughter watched and cried tears of blood. In another corner of the village lived a curious one, 2-year-old girl named Chinaza. She had always liked Ndidi. She often followed her quietly to the river, watching her home to the waves. One evening, Chinaza returned to the river. The villagers had stopped going near it, but she wasn't afraid. She knelt by the bank, whispering, Ndidi, I know you're still here. I'm not like them. The water stirred gently. From the depths, a small red stone floated up, glowing faintly. Chinaza picked it up. That night, she dreamed of the underwater world spirits, tears, betrayal. She saw Ndidi's past, she saw her death, and she saw the mermaid queen Ijeoma, with her crown made of bones. When Chinaza woke up, the stone was still in her hand. She had been chosen, but for what she did not yet know. Chief Ozo Emena's only son, Uzo, had just returned from university in the city. He laughed at the stories of mermaids and angry spirits. Fear has eaten your brains, he told his father. But that night, Uzo decided to prove a point. He went to the river with a bottle of gin and poured it into the water. Drink this, river witch, he laughed. I'm not afraid of fish ghosts. At midnight, his screams were heard all across the village. When they found him, his legs were covered in deep scratches like claws. His eyes were rolled back, and he kept mumbling the same words. She's crying blood. She's crying blood. Uzo never spoke again. Chinaza slept fitfully that night. Her small mat felt colder than usual. In her dream, Ndidi appeared once more, but this time, she looked human. Her eyes were sad. Her voice was calm. More will die, she said, unless someone speaks the truth. What truth? Chinaza asked, and Ndidi looked away. The elders lied. The real cause in this village isn't in the river. It's in their hearts. Suddenly, the dream changed. Chinaza was standing in a burning village. People screamed. The river boiled with blood, and the mermaid queen floated above it all, her red tears falling from the sky. When she woke up, Chinaza screamed. It wasn't just a dream. It was a warning. And she was running out of time to stop what was coming. Chinaza sat before the elders of Omunaya the next morning. Her hands trembled as she held the glowing red stone close to her chest. I have something to say, she said, her voice small but firm. Ndidi was not a witch. She was innocent. I saw everything in my dream. The elders laughed. Dreams? We are talking about spirits, not fairy tales, one shouted. But Mama Ifunanya stood up. Her voice cracked. Let girls speak. Chinaza continued. Ndidi was sacrificed for nothing. You knew the truth. You knew she wasn't guilty. But you were afraid of what the river held. And you lied. Chief Ozoemena slammed his staff on the ground. Silence! You dare accuse elders. But the people were listening now. They remembered the rain that whispered, the red river, the deaths, and they were afraid. Chinaza dropped the red stone on the ground. It cracked, and from the crack rose a mist. A whisper filled the air. I'm not done. That night, the moon turned red, not orange, not gold, but deep blood red. Birds flew in circles. Dogs barked at nothing. Babies refused to sleep. The elders gathered in fear. We must go to the river and beg, one said. But it was too late. From the water rose the figure of Queen Ijoma, tall and glowing, her braids floating behind her like sea snakes. Behind her stood Ndidi, her eyes no longer soft, her feet no longer touched the ground. She hovered, tears running down her face, red like blood. You killed the innocent, Queen Ijoma said. You gave your daughters to fear, now your sons will pay. Suddenly, lightning struck the shrine of the elders. It burned to the ground in seconds. The people scattered. But this was only the beginning. In the silence of the night, Mama Ifunanya walked alone to the river. She wore no wrapper, just a white cloth tied around her chest. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She knelt and wept. Ndidi, my daughter, I failed you. I was weak, but I was afraid. Forgive me. The river remained still. Then slowly, Ndidi rose from the water. She looked just like the day she died, young, innocent, beautiful. But her face was cold. I cried for you, Mama Ifunanya sobbed. I still cry every night. Ndidi stepped forward. Her ghostly hands touched her mother's cheek. One blood tear slid down Ndidi's face. And Mama Ifunanya fell to the ground, unconscious. When she woke up hours later, the red stone was in her hand. She had been forgiven, but the curse was still active. The next day, Chinaza met Queen Ijoma in a dream again. You were chosen, the queen said. But choice means sacrifice. What do I have to do? Chinaza asked. Speak the full truth. Reveal the greatest betrayal. If not, this village will drown in its lies. Chinaza hesitated. There was something else she had seen in her dream, something even worse than Ndidi's death. It was Mazi Ekene, Chibuzo's father, the one who started the accusations. He had done something terrible years ago. He had been the one to murder a girl at the river, a girl no one remembered anymore. He blamed it on a spirit, and that murder was what awakened Queen Ijoma in the first place. He had started it all, and Chinaza had to say it or let the village burn. The village gathered again this time, not for judgment, but for truth. Chinaza stood in the square, facing Mazi Ekene. "You killed a girl by the river," she said. "You blamed it on spirits. That lie started everything." The crowd gasped. Mazi Ekene's face twisted in rage. "Lies. This is nonsense." But Mama Ifunanya stepped forward. "I saw it too. Long ago. He was never punished." Then the sky rumbled. The earth shook. From the river, red mist rolled into the village, curling around Mazi Ekene's feet. He screamed and tried to run, but it was too late. A hand reached from the earth, pulling him down. One last cry, then silence. The blood moon faded, and for the first time in years, the river returned to its natural flow. Peace, it seemed, was possible, but something still stirred beneath the waters. The mermaid had more secrets to reveal. After Mazi Ekene's fall, a strange calm swept through Umunaya. For the first time in weeks, the river flowed gently. The birds returned. The babies slept peacefully. But Chinaza couldn't rest. One morning, as she fetched water, she saw a woman sitting on a rock by the river. The woman wore a long red veil that covered her face, her hands pale and trembling. Chinaza blinked, and the woman was gone. That night, she appeared again, this time in Mama Ifunanya's dreams. "I was the first," the woman whispered. "They never said my name, but I was the beginning of the curse." When Mama Ifunanya woke up, she remembered the face. Not Ndidi's. Another girl forgotten by all. And that meant one thing. The curse wasn't fully broken. It was only waiting. Chinaza began asking the oldest villagers if they remembered a girl who went missing years ago. Most shook their heads. Some grew afraid. But one blind man, Papa Olisa, spoke softly. "There was a girl once, Nkiru. She lived alone near the edge of the village. Quiet, beautiful. One day, she vanished. People said she ran away, but I remember seeing blood near the river." Chinaza's heart dropped. Nkiru. The name echoed in her ears like thunder. She returned to the river, whispered the name, and the water turned cold. A voice answered, "I'm still here." That night, Ndidi appeared in Chinaza's dream again, but this time, she wasn't alone. Standing beside her was a taller girl, with long dark braids and tears running down her cheeks. "I am Nikiru," the girl said. "I was killed long before Ndidi. I was the first spirit the river ever held. I tried to move on, but their lies chained me to the water." Chinaza looked at Queen Ijoma. "You knew." Ijoma's face was hard. "I protect the forgotten, but she's not at peace. Her spirit is restless. It wants justice, but it also wants revenge." Nkiru turned to Chinaza. "You spoke for Ndidi. Now speak for me, or watch Umunaya drown in secrets again." The next morning, people woke up to a terrifying sound cracking. The earth near the river bank had split open. A deep trench formed, and water was seeping into it rapidly. Chief Ozoemena called it an omen, but Mama Ifunanya knew better. "The spirits are trying to rise," she said. "Nikiru is not resting. Her story was never told." Some villagers packed their things and fled. Others gathered in the square, desperate for another cleansing ritual. But Chinaza knew a ritual would not be enough. A truth had to be told. A crime had to be confessed. And this time, there was no one left to blame but the village itself. Chinaza stood once more by the river, this time with a mirror in her hand. It was the only thing Nkiru had left behind, found buried beneath her old hut, wrapped in cloth. Chinaza held it over the river and whispered, "Let her story be seen." Suddenly, the water shimmered. Faces appeared, the faces of villagers who had lied, who had watched Nkiru's murder and said nothing, who had buried the truth and built new lives on her silence. Everyone saw it, the guilt, the betrayal. Then came the final vision. Enkiru being thrown into the river by her own uncle, who later became a priest. Gasps filled the air. The mirror cracked. And from the river, Enkiru rose not angry, but free. She looked at Chinaza, smiled sadly, and said, "Thank you." Then she dissolved into the wind. The river stilled, but in its depths, something else stirred. Something older. Something darker. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories about love, family, and life lessons. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.